Howdy, folks. Not sure what to pray for, having difficulty finding things you can take joy in? Well, then Psalm 20 is for you. Today we're going to look at this short little psalm, and it's a psalm that makes requests for the king and then trusts in the Lord. And so we're going to just read through this and kind of move through this and take some notes as we go, and then we'll make some observations. So Psalm 20, verse 1, may the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. Okay, a couple of items here. You here is referring to the king. Okay, God save the king, the Lord save the king. So the you here is that's being addressed as the Lord's anointed king, and the people are wishing this blessing upon the Lord's king. So may the Lord answer you, and the situation is in the day of trouble. So what is this day of trouble? We're not real sure, but it could be a battle, could be obviously a very difficult situation, but the situation is there's a day of trouble. And then he says, may the name of the God of Jacob protect you. Now we're going to see something here that's going to be repeated 3 times in this psalm. We have the name of the God of Jacob here, and then we're going to see it again down in verse 5. It's said a little bit different, but it's the name of our God. And then we see in verse 7 the name of the Lord God. So we have those 3 times that is mentioned here. And so may the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you from help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God, set up our banners. What are these banners? These are victory banners. So these are victory banners that are being set up. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. And then that ends the address to the king. And he says, now, in verse 6, now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving might of his right hand. And some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall. That's the people who trust in chariots and horses, they collapse and fall, but we who trust in the Lord rise and stand upright. O Lord, save the king. May he answer us when we call. And so we have here a psalm that's blessed, speaking a blessing upon the king, God's anointed. And there's a couple of things that we can note, especially here in verse 5. May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God, set up our banners. What we see here is that the people's joy is tied to the success and the salvation of the king. This is the king's salvation that's being spoken of here. And so the people take joy when the king is saved. And they, by making these requests and giving this blessing to the Lord's anointed, they are showing their loyalty to the king. And they're asking that the Lord fulfill all of the petitions that the king makes. And so, again, the people's joy is bound up in the success of the king. And notice just a couple of things. They say, may he send you help from the sanctuary, from the Lord's sanctuary. And then we see that contrasted over here where they place their trust in the Lord and they say he will answer him from his holy heaven. And so we see the connection there from verse 2 to verse 6. And so up here, we see several times that the Lord's name, let me see if I can change my pen color here just to emphasize a little different. Here we see the Lord, may the Lord Yahweh in all capital letters, may he answer you in the day of trouble. And then down here, the people ask, O Lord, save the king. And then may he, the Lord, answer us when we call. So they're asking according to the king's desires here. And we see the Lord mentioned again in verse 5. May the Lord, all capital letters, Yahweh, fulfill. Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. And then we trust in the name of the Lord, our God. And then, O Lord, save the king. Now, just to go back, we've got the Lord, Yahweh, and then we have this threefold repetition talking about the name. The name. What is that referring to? Well, that is referring to the Lord's character. That's the Lord's character. It's his reputation. And so according to the character and the reputation of the God of Jacob, may he protect you. In the name of our God, set up our banners. We're going to set up our banners because of the Lord's character. Victory comes by doing God's will, God's way. And so we trust in the name of the Lord. We trust in the character of our God. And so as we move on then, let's personalize some of this because the requests are being made to that the Lord would answer the king's request. And then there's the trusting in the second part of the psalm, verses 6 through 9. The trusting that the Lord will save his anointed and he will answer him from heaven with the saving might of his right hand. And that there's these people who trust in chariots and horses, but we are going to trust in the name of the Lord our God. They will collapse and fall, but we will rise and stand upright. So here's that trust that we see here. So trust in the name of the Lord. Now, what we have here is we have confidence that the Lord saves his anointed king. Now, the question is, who is this guy? Is this the president of the United States? Is it the president or the ruler of some other nation? No, it's not any of those earthly kings. This is Jesus for us as Christians, right? In their day, that would have been David or David's offspring. But the true offspring of David, the one who fulfilled it all, is Jesus. And so for our day, we are looking to King Jesus. No matter what nation we live in, we serve King Jesus. First Peter talks about how we are sojourners and exiles, right? And so we are sojourners in that we are foreigners living in a foreign land. So even though we have citizenship in an earthly sense here, for me in the United States, my citizenship is in heaven. Paul talks about that in, I believe it's Colossians. And our citizenship is in heaven. And so I'm just passing through this life here in the United States. I'm really a citizen of heaven. But then I'm also an exile. So I'm a stranger to where I am, and I'm an exile from where I have my citizenship. My citizenship is in heaven, and I'm not there yet. I'm exiled. I'm living out this world of exile until one day I die and I'm taken into the presence of the Lord, and I enter the true promised land. So as Christians, our hope is not in earthly governments in this world. Our hope is in our King Jesus. And so we know that the Lord saves his anointed king. Jesus fulfilled all the law. He always pleased the Father. And so we are to make requests and to seek our King's joy and his success in times of trouble. And so, but then we come to ourselves, we are to be loyal to the Lord's anointed king. And again, Jesus. But we are prone, instead of delighting in Jesus and the things that align with Jesus' character and purposes, our temptation is to delight in things that don't align with King Jesus' character and purposes. We desire things that are sinful. We desire things that will distract us from the true mission of our King. And that's our propensity as sinners. But our response that we find in this psalm is that we should delight in the King's plans, just like verse 4 tells us. May he grant your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans, King Jesus. May the Lord grant your desires. And then we take joy in that. We take joy in the King's successes. Christians don't need to necessarily delight when the stock market goes up or when good things that we see from a physical standpoint are happening, because we place our hope and our trust and our joy in those things. Then it's all about what happens to us. But if we take joy in the King's successes, then we can take joy when people are saved, when people are a great testimony through very difficult circumstances, and when other people are coming to follow the King because of the way he is working in unthinkable ways to bring people to himself. And we can take joy in those things. And so we are to delight in the King's plans, take joy in the King's successes. And then I think it's important that we note from this psalm that we are to make requests that align with the King's character and purposes. The first 5 verses of this are a blessing that is given to the King. May the Lord answer your prayers and your requests. And so we are to make requests in our prayer life that align with the King's character and purposes. And then we are to trust the Lord's character. That great verse in verse 7, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord, our God. It's very easy for us to trust in our military and in our security with finances and the great standing army that the United States has. But, those things ultimately will fail. And we are to trust in the Lord and in his character and in his purposes. So I'll leave you with these meditation and prayer points. Are you not sure what to pray for? Well, then pray for the things that align with the Lord's character and the purposes for his church. Be praying for your pastors and for your church and for the gospel to go out and to be received, and to think about who can you share the gospel with? Who's the one person in your life that you have contact with that you could be sharing the gospel with? Who is someone that you're helping to grow in the Lord and to become more Christ-like? Where are you investing your time and your efforts? And then make requests that align with Jesus' plan to make disciples in this world. And then, are you having difficulty finding things you can take joy in? Listen, politics, stock markets, all these things, entertainment, they are empty joys. They don't last. But we can delight in the King's successes. Jesus says, I will build my church. And so let's be busy about building his church here at Faith Baptist Church. And then we are to trust in the Lord's character, which is succinctly described for us in Exodus 34, verses 6 and 7. He is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness, and he is just. And I encourage you to read over those verses. And then I would also encourage you to read Matthew 6, verses 9 through 15, where Jesus instructs us on how to pray. And he gives us a template prayer. It's a great passage to memorize, not so you can just recite it back to the Lord. That does nothing. It's just words. But it does help us to remember a template of things that we can be praying for as we make requests that align with the Lord's character and his purposes. And this will help you in your prayer life. And so with that, I'll leave you with these meditation and prayer points.